Just as we were getting to grips with the brand new Lumix S1II that was announced just a couple of months ago, Panasonic have gone and dropped two more new cameras, the S1II, the S1IIe, and also a brand new lens, the 24-60 f2.8. In this video I'm going to focus on the S1II, no, not that one. That one, the S1II, and think about this as a little bit of an overview because there is way too much to cover in just this one video. But don't worry, I'm going to have a load more videos coming all about the S1II and this brand new lens as well, so make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss out on those. I might actually switch over to this lens and film this video on this lens so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Okay, here we are on the brand new lens, all the way out at 24mm, and then you can push all the way into 60mm as well, all at f2.8 because we now have that constant aperture. I'm going to have a new video coming all about this lens, so stay tuned for that. Very quick disclaimer, Lumix have loaned me the S1II and the new lens to make this video, and they did invite me out to Lisbon for the launch event of this camera, but they haven't asked me to say anything. They don't get to see this video before it goes out, and all of the thoughts in this video are entirely my own. And just on the actual launch event as well, we landed in Portugal at the exact moment, believe it or not, that the entire of Spain and Portugal were plunged into darkness and had this massive power cut with no power anywhere in sight for like 12 hours. It was eventful, but a lot of fun. So you might be wondering if the S1II is a little bit of a stripped back version of the S1R2, and the answer to that is not at all. It is a completely different beast, with actually a lot of features that might tempt you to go for this instead of the S1R2. And a lot of the reason for that is that this has a brand new 24 megapixel partially stacked sensor, which the S1R2 doesn't, but it does have a 44 megapixel sensor. I'm going to come on to that a little bit later on in the video. Physically, it looks identical to the S1R2. It's got the same body, the same ergonomics, the same rugged design, and it feels incredibly well built. We've also got the flippy vari-angle display, which is perfect for shooting in whichever angle you might need to. We've also got the photo, video, S&Q mode dial, which is really handy for quickly and easily flicking between, say, photo and video, and having all of your different custom modes set up on each one, so there's no hassle when you are flicking between them. It's got the same 5.7 million EVF. We've also got an SD along with a CF Express Type B card slot. So on the outside, you really cannot tell the difference, apart from the fact that there is no red R on this one, like there is on the R. I will say though, I do wish that it had just a slightly different design to the S1R2. Maybe something a little bit more along the lines of a small cinema camera, like an FX3 maybe, where you've got different mounting points built into the body so it's nice and easy to rig it up. I think that would just give dedicated video shooters a little bit more of an edge to maybe choose this one over that one. As I said, as a hybrid shooter myself, I can't really fault the design because it suits my needs really well. So that is the design. It's the exact same as the S1R2. It's on the inside though where things really start to change. So the S1II features a brand new 24 megapixel partially stacked sensor, and it's the first time that Panasonic has used any form of stacked sensor with any of its cameras. Now a stacked sensor essentially means that you're going to get much faster performance from your camera. You're going to get much faster readout speeds, faster burst modes and all of that. What it means essentially when you have a stacked sensor is that the memory of the camera is stacked onto the back of the sensor. With a partially stacked sensor, in this case, I believe it is stacked at the top and the bottom. So the top part of the sensor and the bottom part of the sensor is stacked. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but it still means that you're going to get much faster readout speeds than the likes of the S5II and the S1R2 because it is partially stacked. It's not going to be quite as fast as a fully stacked sensor. That is a very long-winded explanation. I apologize for that. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. Now, because of the partially stacked sensor in the S1II, that means you're going to get faster readout speeds than the S5 and the S1R2. Now, the S1R2 did obviously have a little bit of controversy when it came to the readout speeds of the sensor, and people were complaining about the rolling shutter, even though it's really not that big of an issue, but it was a talking point. In the S1II, you're going to get a 3 times faster readout speed than the S1R2, so that is massively improved. But what it also means when it comes to photography is that you can shoot up to 10 frames per second using the mechanical shutter, or if you flick it over into electronic shutter, you can shoot 70 frames per second. That is a hell of a lot of images that you're capturing in a very short space of time. The S1R2 does 40 frames per second, which is still quick. If you're into wildlife or sports photography, you're going to absolutely love that, because you then add on the 3-second pre-burst. That then means that you're going to have a much greater chance of being able to capture the image that you want to. The downside is it's obviously a hell of a lot of files. So one thing I would really like to see in a firmware update is an option to maybe choose between 25, 50 and 70 frames per second in electronic shutter, rather than just being stuck with 70 frames a second. I think having an option would be a really nice feature to have. That being said, 70 frames a second is insane. When it comes to autofocus, I think the speed of the sensor has had a massive impact on the performance of the autofocus. Now, as I mentioned in my S1R2 video, autofocus in Lumix cameras has come on a long way very quickly since they introduced phase detect with the S5 II. With the speed of this sensor, I think it is even better again, and I think it's noticeably different. There is a new autofocus mode called Urban Sports Autofocus, and it works brilliantly. It's brilliant! It is designed to like capture skateboarders, people doing parkour and street dance and things like that. I was testing it out in Lisbon, filming street dancers and BMXers and taking photos of them in burst modes. It blew me away how accurate it was. It is so good, and it is a noticeable difference from the S1R2, which only came out a couple of months ago. Ow! Can't do it.
You're gonna have to do that again. I wasn't filming.
Are you serious? And I think a lot of that is down to just the readout speeds of the sensor being much quicker than in the S1R2. As I said in that video as well, autofocus isn't something that I have to heavily rely on, because most of my stuff is things like this, just sat talking to a camera, and my photography is a lot of still life stuff. I'm not filming moving subjects or fast moving subjects very much. But if you are, you're going to be very welcome to see those improvements, and those improvements are also noticeable in the higher frame rate options as well. So your 100, 120 frames a second, it is a lot more accurate and a lot quicker. Coming up, I'll get back to the video shortly. The video features of the S1II again do not disappoint in the slightest at all. They are so impressive. I've just got a couple that I'm going to read out here so I don't miss any out that I want to mention. So you can shoot 5.1K open gate up to 60 frames per second, 4K 120 frames per second, full sensor. There is like I think it's a 1.4 times crop, so it's like a really minimal crop on that. It's the same as the S1R2. You can shoot up to 5.8K internal ProRes on the CF Express Type B card, or if you output over HDMI, you can shoot up to 6K ProRes RAW. And one thing that is really nice coming later on in the year, I think it was with the paid firmware update, is Arilog C3 support. Now that is amazing if you're potentially going to be using this as a B camera on much bigger film sets. Using ARRI cameras, you will easily be able to match up your colors, and obviously ARRI is known for its color science and image quality, so that is a huge thing to look forward to later on in the year. I think one thing that is most impressive to me, aside from all of these ridiculously impressive video features, the thing that stood out to me the most was the dynamic range of the S1II. Now they say it has up to 15 stops of dynamic range when you're using dynamic range boost mode, and when you're not using dynamic range boost mode you get up to 14 stops of dynamic range. But I was filming some stuff in Lisbon at sunset, shooting pretty much directly into the sun, and it just looked incredible. Like, it blew me away just looking at the image on the back of the camera at the time. The dynamic range is so good, and I think there is a noticeable improvement from the likes of the S1II and the S1R2. If you are shooting in Vlog, your base ISO is 640 and 5000, and if you're shooting Vlog with dynamic range boost mode on, your base ISO is 1000 and you don't get a higher ISO base value. But between all of those, you've got some amazing capabilities. And honestly, going back to the video features, when you're flicking through all of the different codec options, it's quite overwhelming because you're just scrolling through pages and pages of different codec options. It is insane. There is so much available to you, and yeah, it's nuts. There's one interesting new feature coming with the S1II that I believe is coming to all of the other cameras as well with firmware updates later in the year, and that is the new 2.4:1 aspect ratio mode, which gives you that classic widescreen look straight out of camera while using your normal spherical lenses. If you use anamorphic lenses, this will already make sense to you, but when you do use the anamorphic lens, your footage is squeezed, therefore you're getting a much wider aspect ratio. So when you de-squeeze your footage, you end up with those black bars at the top and the bottom of your footage. That's not an actual black bar, that is just because there's no footage there because you've de-squeezed your footage. So that is why you tend to see a lot of people putting on the black bars on their footage, because it almost fakes that widescreen look that you get with an anamorphic lens. We have all done it, let's be honest. This just allows you to be able to frame things up a lot easier if you are going to be ending up with that aspect ratio. And what it also allows you to do is, if you are using anamorphic lenses on another camera or as well to shoot this project, and you need a spherical lens to shoot a certain shot because it's the right lens for that shot, it allows you to be able to match it up with those anamorphic lens shots much easier when you get into editing. If you are shooting with anamorphic lenses, this isn't a mode I would recommend shooting in, because you are then going to end up with an even narrower aspect ratio, which isn't going to be any good. So you are probably going to want to stick with open gate if you are shooting with anamorphic lenses. However, if you don't have an anamorphic lens, give it a go, play around with it. It's a lot of fun and it looks great, just because we associate that aspect ratio with cinema and movies, and it looks amazing. It's not the same as an anamorphic lens, but it still looks good and it's a lot of fun to use. One other really nice feature that is coming with the S1II is that you can now back up the footage you have shot directly to an SSD through the USB-C port. So you can shoot your footage onto your CF Express or your SD card, plug in your SSD and then back it up straight to your SSD. That is great if, for example, you finish a shoot, you need to pack up and travel, you can just leave your camera plugged into your SSD, backing up your footage as you are packing up, as you are traveling, and that means that then when you sit down, you've got your footage on your SSD and you can start editing it straight away. So that's just a brief overview of the brand new Lumix S1II. I'm going to have a ton more videos coming all about this camera and also comparing it to the S1R2 as well, because even though these cameras are both brand new and they both look identical, they are very different. And again, a lot of that, as I mentioned before, comes down to the different sensors in them. So we've got a 44 megapixel sensor in here and a partially stacked 24 megapixel sensor in here. So the S1II isn't a replacement for the S1R2, and the S1II is also not a watered down version of the S1R2. They are both very different cameras, but they complement each other very well, and it's all about choosing the right one to suit your needs the most. And I'm going to go more into that in a future video, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Overall, I think it's a very exciting time to be shooting with Lumix cameras. With these recent updates to the S1 line, their flagship line of cameras, There's a lot to look forward to and a lot to be excited by. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to picking up an S1II? Are you going to grab an S1R2? Let me know which one you are leaning towards, or if you just like them both and you want them both. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos about both of these cameras, and I shall see you very soon in the next video.